I know that this one will interest all of us, and in fact should interest all of us, whether you have young ones or not, whether you have wards in our secondary schools or not. This is one you should not move an inch from. Now, from viral videos to students attacking teachers to stories of peer bullying and open defiance, something seems to be shifting or breaking in our school environments. Now, the age-old question resurfaces: what is the right way to discipline a child? Now, at the heart of this debate lies a delicate balance between upholding student rights and maintaining discipline. It's very important. In very recent times, you would have heard of some very unsavory happenings in our secondary high schools. In fact, let's zoom into this month and this year, 2025, April 4th, Seventh-day Adventist SHS in Bantama. A student accidentally shot 2 peers, with one critically injured. Now let's take you back in time to March of Fuasi Kokoben SHS. Students protested the headmistress over alleged mismanagement and poor food. A very energetic protest at that, with the destruction of property. April 27, Christian Methodist SHS, New Aplaku. There was a clash with locals over alleged theft. 4 students were arrested with weapons. Our young ones are taking weapons to school. Sokode SHTS, students at senior high. The T is which one? 6 enlighten us.
Senior High Technical School.
Senior High Technical School. Students and locals clashed, which led to a temporary school closure following that incident. Then let me take you to February 12th. Esioso. Thank you, Sixtus, for your intervention. Although I'm not sure you are the best person for the job, but thank you.
I mean, I'm getting the applause.
Esioso SHS, teacher stabbed in the eye by a student. Now let's listen to a few notable voices in the space. Before that, February 5th, Salaga SHS, 20 students were arrested after a fight. Now listen to this. One student was stabbed, and there was also a locally made pistol that was seized. Where are students getting all of these guns, pistols, and other weapons from? Let's take a listen to the Acting Director General of the GES, the Ghana Education, Professor Ernest. Take a listen.
As a pre-tertiary policy implementation agency of the Ministry of Education, the GES is at the center of actualizing the educational agenda of the government of the day. That is, review, reflect, and reset. GES cannot effectively and efficiently implement ministry's policy, particularly those relating to secondary education, without active involvement of CHAS. Without the total commitment of CHAS to providing leadership support for the delivery of accessible, quality, and relevant secondary education that will produce a 21st century graduate characterized by balanced knowledge, skills, and attitudes, Ghana will not achieve her transformational agenda through education. The current upsurge in school violence, including gun culture and other acts of indiscipline, calls for the urgent need for our service to look into our current practices, that is, review, reflect, and make the necessary changes, that is, reset, to move our education system forward. In this context, Mr. Chairman, one question that should inform our thinking as Honorable Minister engages us in the dialogue today should be: how do we develop and promote character index excellence in the students who pass through our schools as we deal with the challenges associated with the free SHS. Finding answer to this question will help us to prepare the 21st century graduate with the requisite knowledge, skills, attitudes, and value that Ghana needs for its socio-economic transformation.
When I heard about the shooting incident in Kumasi, my immediate response was, this is un-Ghanaian. This is not Ghanaian. But it has happened in Ghana. The Director General of GES have issued some directives and instructions. He has our full policy support and approval to enforce those directives. So in respect of the un-Ghanaian development of shooting in Kumasi, the Director General of the GES has the full support of government for you to strengthen your inspections in order that guns, knives, and other violent tools and equipment are not found in our schools. You have the full support of government to initiate those inspections at the weekend. We have to nip it in the bud as early as possible and as practically as possible, in order that we allow for a serene student environment. This cannot be part of the training of a Ghanaian child. That is immoral, that is violent, that is not Ghanaian culture. So we expect that you will look at those issues.
3FM 92.7.
When I heard about
Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
And you were just listening there to the voice of the Education Minister, Honorable Haruna Idrisu. And prior to that, Professor Ernest Kofi Davis. He's the acting Director General of the GES. We're expanding the tentacles of this conversation and zooming into recent happenings concerning our SHS students.
3FM 92.7.
Now let's get onto our phone lines and speak with the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, Thomas Musa Tanko. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning to yourself and to all your listeners.
How are you doing this morning?
Grace and divine selection has really given us the opportunity to be here. So we can only thank God for the opportunity and the gift of life.
Now we're zooming into recent conduct by senior high school students and the state of indiscipline in our schools. Speaking with teachers across the country, many teachers feel like they've lost the power to discipline effectively. What is NAT's position on this, and how has the ban of corporal punishment impacted classroom management?
Okay, so thank you very much. Let us put the issue in its context and in the right perspective so that we can discuss the issue. When we talk about discipline, it is not specifically corporal punishment, because the impression has been created like when we talk about punishment, it's synonymous with corporal punishment. No, correction. When we are dealing with punishment here, we mean correction. It is correction. Whatever you can do to correct the child, you get it done. Yes, sometimes some people go overboard, or there are some excesses. That one also we concede. But there are procedures put in place. In fact, before we even we go to this particular place. You cannot discipline a child or give any child any punishment without the knowledge of the headmaster or the head of that particular institution. We also have the logbook. Now, whatever punishment that is meted out to the student, it is recorded. So that is, let me put that. Now, let me come to the substantive issue.
Certainly.
Look, these children are our own. There is nothing we can do to aid them, to rescue them, and do whatever we can to save them. Currently, we have what we call the Ghana Education Service Code, or the Code for Staff of the Ghana Education Service. And this particular code, it is about our corporate governance within that particular service, and it tells us how the staff in the GES ought to behave, the things they can do and the things that they cannot do. And because of that, the current code indicates that the issue of discipline, which has been discussed extensively in the code of conduct, it covers almost about 3 pages, provides details of the things that the staff in the GES cannot do. And some of the concepts there are so vague that if care is not taken, you can easily fall foul to the law. And so because you are a public servant, anything that is vague and anything that has the potential of leading you astray and to create problems for you, you have to avoid it. And so because of the current code, we have told our teachers, please stay away from matters that will create problems for you, particularly in the area of disciplining students. And we've gotten to a stage where the students feel that they have the upper hand. Why? Because something small, the GES will call it to come and answer. The parents themselves will come to the school to beat you up. The students themselves will beat you up. Time will not permit me to tell you all that is happening around us. Some teachers have lost their eyes. Some teachers have died. Some teachers have gotten themselves into major difficulties and all that because of attempt made to correct students. And so it is a duty on all of us. And let me also dovetail into what the minister said. The minister used the word, and I like it so much. He said what the students are doing is un-Ghanaian.
That's right.
It's un-Ghanaian. So it presupposes that we, as a people and as a country, we have our own behavior which identify us as Ghanaians. And to that extent, whatever we can do to return to that particular page, we need to get it done. Let me tell you, at this particular time that I'm talking to you, we have lost what we call the affective domain or the values of our people. When a child comes to school, there are 3 things we do for the child. Number 1, we give him knowledge. That is about his head. Now, the second thing we do to the child or we do for the child, it is about what we call the affective domain. It is about his upbringing, the character aspect, his conscience, among other things. The last one is the psychomotor. Now, the aspect of the affective domain, which has to do with the character, the conscience, and the values, we have lost it as a nation. We have lost it. We have lost. Now we don't have control over it. And the signs are all over us. Look at what is happening to our water bodies. Galamsey all over us. In fact, you see lawlessness all over us. Lawlessness. So that is the evidence that we have lost the affective domain.
That's an important point you mentioned.
Today, there is no more character. We misbehave. How can students go to school? Instead of picking pen and pencils, they now rather go with gas. They now go with machete. Where did we get it from? This is un-Ghanaian, like the minister said. And so we are happy that the minister is saying that he has given us the full backing. And we believe that the only way to start is for us to get back to the code, review it, and we'll take it out from there.
Now, Mr. Musa Tanko, you talk about students, beating teachers, but you say even parents will come to the school and assault and attack teachers.
Yes.
Now,
look, in Greater Accra here, there was a student misbehaved. These are recent cases. So, a student misbehaved. The student corrected him. He went home to call his parents. They beat up the teacher. 2-3 weeks later, the teacher died.
Goodness me.
What has happened? In Ashanti region, offensive to be specific, a student was misbehaving. The teacher asked the student to go to class. The student picked a sharp object, stabbed the left eye of the teacher. The teacher is blind. What has GES said? What have they done? That is where we are today. Students, when they are coming to school today, they are well armed. How can a teacher go and correct such a person? How?
Well, that brings me to my next question.
Hold on. Look,
yes.
Recently, soccer there in the voter region, the students went to fight the youth in the community. That is where we are. How? How can we continue that way? So it's simply what the situation now is that we all need to sit up, give the teachers the free hand, let us review the code, and we can easily solve this problem. Only when we have the backing of the state, we have the backing of GES, and then thank God the ministry has given us their backing. Then we get the backing of everybody. Certainly we can get it done. And we have to save them.
Now, because well, then I think that answers my next question then, Mr. Musa Tanko. I was going to ask if teachers are adequately supported, that's psychologically, legally, professionally, when they face violent or defiant students. But from what I understand, teachers are left to handle it, the aftermath of these clashes, parentals or parents coming, beating up teachers and so on and so forth.
Please, I didn't get the last bit of your line was breaking.
Oh, apologies for that. I was saying that given what you have outlined so far, it's safe to say that teachers are not adequately supported then psychologically, legally, or professionally when they face violent or defiant students. Am I right?
Certainly. Today, if you are a teacher and care is not taken, look, the parents will come and beat you up. The students themselves will beat you up. If they cannot, they will even call for reinforcement, and they'll come and deal with you. Burning teachers' bungalows, burning their vehicles, burning their properties and all that. That is the order of the day. Nobody is saying anything. The teachers who have lost their idols, who have died, GES will not give you anything. GES will not give you anything. Nothing happens. And so why should we risk our lives in these things? Why? If the GES will be supporting such lawlessness and all that, is that the way to go? Parents them. Look, I always say that when I was in school, we have what you call the PTA. The PTA, they were always united. When the child goes wrong, the parent, the teachers, and all the society will come together to make sure they put the child right. But today, the people who are the socialization systems put in place that to help the child socialize to become a very good adult, now we are all in a disarray. Look, let me give you an example. And this is something that I want the media to take it up. Have we asked ourselves that in the University of Ghana established somewhere in 1948, why is it that their motto is Integri Procedamus? Why? Why were they not talking about knowledge? Why did the university not say knowledge is power and all that? But they said Integri Procedamus. That is the motto of the university. What it simply means that proceed with integrity. Proceed, that's the Latin word, proceed with integrity. It means that the integrity aspect of all the things we are talking about, or the issue of the character and the conscience is fundamental. These principles are fundamental to the development of this country. And it looks like we have neglected it, and today all over us, we see lawlessness. Lawlessness everywhere you go.
Now, Mr. Tanko, I wanted to ask specifically about searches. I recall in secondary school, impromptu searches were the order of the day. Is that still happening in our schools? You mentioned
everything is
coming with guns
today,
and the rest.
When you today, all the things that those systems put in place to ensure that the child grows up, to ensure that the child is well trained, the child is well groomed, fit for purpose in the society. All those things are gone. Because these are disciplines that when you are working the child through, the child will sometimes feel pain. And well, which kind of service will you go down? The train, who is telling the training is something that people enjoy. Training is difficult. Go to the military, go to the police, go to the nursing training, go to the teacher training. Wherever you go, training is difficult. Training is difficult. And so we must be able to tell our children to endure the training, to enable them face the future. But if we tell our children that, oh, everything is okay, don't mind these people and all that, and you come and support the teacher, to support your student to beat up the teachers and the supporting system in the schools to help correct them, then where are we now? I have told you, in those days, when you were young, when you even commit an offense in the house, your mother or father will come and tell the teacher. Today it has changed. When you see mother, father coming to school, you, the teacher, must take cover, because if care is not taken, you may not even see the next day. Why is this so?
Mr. Tanko, thank you for those thoughts. And let me also invite into the conversation Dr. Peter Patti Anti, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Doc, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you too?
I'm doing all right. We're talking about recent happenings in our secondary schools and the escalating violence we see from young Ghanaians. From your research, how widespread is the issue of student indiscipline and violence in our schools today? Are we seeing a crisis, or is this a reflection of deeper societal issues?
Good morning once again to your listeners and viewers. I think that it's escalating. We normally see this disturbances, violence, and other issues as demonstrations on campus where students would decide not to go to the dining hall, or a student will jump school wall, go outside without exit. These were the disciplinary issues that we used to have in our schools. And for some years now, there's been an escalation where these are turned into something else. Students beating teachers, like Musa mentioned, students burning bungalows, burning dormitories, and so on and so forth. So there is an escalation of the indiscipline in our schools, and I think that it is time a concrete direction is given to deal with this issue. We should not continue with a lip service and pretend as if we are dealing with that challenge. We are focused so much on students' grades and pass rates, and therefore we are not interested even in skills development. Everybody who is in education knows that you train the child in 3 domains: his ability to use the brain, which we call the cognitive, his ability to develop skills, which we call the psychomotor, and then the whole personal disposition of the individual, which you call the affective. And now we talk about social emotional learning. We have relegated all these issues to the background, and all we talk about in this country is students are passing, they are doing well. Even as parents, that is what we first and foremost look at. Our students are passing. So even if the student is destroying properties, if the student is disrespecting authority and he gets 6 A's, that is what we are interested in. And I remember that in one of these conversations, I said that if you are not careful, we will train scientists whose basic orientation would be to develop suicide bombs and finish all of us, because we are so much interested in the cognitive and not the socio-emotional and affective domains of education, which involves the development of the total personality of the students.
Why would you say there is this fixation on passing of exams and getting good grades to the detriment of the emotional development of our young ones, of our students?
Because we think that is the only channel through which these children would have a bright future. And that has technically led to an escalation of examination malpractice. Our whole assessment regime, and we have said this, our whole assessment regime needs to be looked at, because you cannot want to develop the socio-emotional learning affective domain of the individual, and at the end of the day, you don't have any way to assess that. So our focus on trying to ensure that the future of the child is secured, and by our systems and structure, the only way that can happen is when the student passes his or her exams. That is why we have relegated all the others to the background, and there's so much focus, even as parents, so much focus on the grades that the child is going to get. So as a society, as a system, we need to look at our assessment regimes. We need to look at how we interpret assessment scores, and we need to look at how we develop channels that will enable students to pursue further education as they go through the educational process. If you're able to do that, and there's an assessment regime that takes into consideration the socio-emotional and effective aspects of the child, and that is graded and added to the cognitive and the psychomotor, I think that children or students would think twice when they are engaged in certain activities. Imagine that if you are applying for admission in the university, you need to attach a transcript, attach a testimonial from from your former secondary school, like we do with our master's program. You have to take a reference from your former lecturer or someone who can see your behavior. If you are supposed to do that, you can imagine how this would be a deterrent to the students who would want to pursue higher education after they have completed senior high school. So we are fixation on the success of the child, irrespective of the process and the procedure, is what has led us to this stage.
Now, Doc, let's talk about the element of discipline. And corporal punishment comes up time without number. What alternatives to corporal punishment are proving effective in Ghanaian schools, and why aren't these methods being adopted more widely?
When GES decided to abandon corporal punishment, one of the things that I said was that they should have taken teachers through alternative processes of instilling discipline in our wards. I'm told that they did that. I don't know how intensive and elaborate that was, because you would have to still use some form of corporal punishment. But there are other processes that you can employ that would also help manage the behavior of the child. I always give a simple example that at the teenage level of the child, one of the things that they avoid, one of the things that they don't want to see is that you speaking about them in front of their colleagues. They see that to be even more dangerous or more painful than inflicting that corporal punishment on them. So calling students, and we used to do this at assembly, calling some students in front of the whole school, and then telling the school what they have done, and then giving them some activities to undertake after school hours. Imagine the boy who is all over campus doing all those things, disturbing and all that, asking that boy to go and scrub the girls, the gutter in front of the girls' dormitory on a Saturday afternoon. You know the kind of message this will send across to campuses and how students will tease him. If you are able to train teachers to imbibe some of these skills of still asking students, disciplining students, you will not need so much of the corporal punishment. And I was thinking that these are things that psychologists and other education educationists have written about and have spoken about a lot. Imagine a student whose sole purpose on campus is to engage in athletics, and because of that, he doesn't come to class. But when it's athletics time, you will see him coming. What do? You just take him out of the athletics team. And if the student sees that if I don't go to class, I'm not going to take part in the athletics that is coming in the next term, that is enough punishment for the child to change his mind and then do what is right. So there are so many ways that we could handle these students. But of course, when we're taking the corporal punishment away, we were not able to do intensive training for teachers to imbibe some of these new ways of trying to discipline the students. I must say that you cannot take the corporal punishment away. But if you're also not careful as a teacher, the anger and the way these kids carry themselves, you can use it to destroy the life of somebody if the cane ends up in the head or the eye or somewhere, part of the body. So it is even in the interest of the teacher to be skilled in other ways of disciplining students. And I think that we have not done so well in that perspective.
A lot to certainly ruminate on. I mean, would you say then that in terms of adequately equipping our teachers and school administrators, there's still a lot that needs to be done under the current guidelines?
Exactly. I think that there should be a revision of that guideline. I think that there should be, I'm told that the minister is indicating that teachers, they have the full support of the ministry to discipline students. Am I right?
Indeed.
Exactly. And I think that should go beyond the minister making such pronouncements. There should be a directive from the GS or a policy developed from the Ghana Education Service, backed by the Ministry of Education, so that this will be broadcasted across for parents to know. We cannot rely on a message from the minister during a program to bring back some of these disciplinary powers that the teachers are supposed to be clothed with. I think this should be a directive, a press release directive, like they always release these directives to the general public, or a policy that is developed, well thought through and developed by the ministry and Ghana Education Service, and well circulated for everybody to know that these are the things that teachers are supposed to do, and these are the things that they are supposed to help maintain discipline in our schools. That is the sure way to go. We should not rely on a statement by the Minister of Education and think that we can base on that to correct the years of discipline that have mounted in our senior high school. I think that the minister should go a step further to institute a committee or whatever it is, or the Director General of the Ghana Education Service should issue a directive to this effect, so that they will give life to what the minister is communicating to the general public.
Absolutely, and it's one that concerns all of us because these are the future leaders of our dear nation. Dr. Peter Patianti is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Doc.
Thank you.
And before you heard the voice of Doc, you were also listening to Mr. Thomas Musa Tanko. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Well, at this point, we'll pause and take some breaks. 0559 242 717, or you can reach us on 0556 910 154. We give you a chance to contribute to the conversation. We're talking about the state of discipline, or shall I say indiscipline, in our secondary schools. Give us a call, 0559 242 717 or 0556 910 154.